of my, I don't know, for night work we have good money,
Yes.
good wages, and we our bosses share share our night shift. They try to share them equal
Equally.
equally, yes, between us.
And Irena, welcome.
Hi.
How are you today?
Fine, just a little bit tired.
Tired,
Yes.
eh?
This is late for you.
Yeah.
But I think we've determined that you are a night owl.
Usually yes, but today I'm really tired and I already want to go to bed.
So, what is unusual about today?
Just a lot of work, and have done it not just in the office, and visited a lot of places in the city today, so I came back late to home.
And so, do you have dinner before class?
Yeah, sure.
Elena, you might say that you are worn out.
Worn
out. Worn out. Worn out.
Yeah.
Worn out.
And in some parts of the country, they might say, I'm dog tired.
Dog tired. Dog tired. Dog tired.
So today we want to talk about mindsets. And Constantine, thank you for your good post. I will respond to it, but I have not been able to yet. And but we surely will talk about it today. And one of the things that I think makes it most interesting to talk about this is because people tend to share ideas with their age group or some other cohort that they have. And so, Constantine, you provide the possibility of giving some depth to our discussion because you're older than the average student, and so that even though you're not of the generation of '94, you have some. You may have some interesting perspective on that age group, and you would be a good witness because you have sons whom I believe are in their 20s. So we will want to come back to that, the way people think and how you might relate to some of those things. But first I wanted you to take a look at the fact that my cat is celebrating the arrival of spring. Is a cat who has found his bliss. He likes nothing better than to roll in the dirt. And of course, he's a light-colored cat. And this is not on our property. You will remember seeing how close my house is to the next house. This is the next house over. And because it is a rental property, and that means the owner does not live in the house, the yard is not well taken care of. I don't have bare dirt in my yard, but so Flash goes over to the neighbor's yard as soon as it's dry enough and rolls in the dirt. And so when he gets up, he's dirt colored. And nothing gives him greater pleasure than this. So you will see the foundation of this house is not in good shape. It's not well maintained. But look while you're at it. If you're a connoisseur of dirt, you will see that this is very good soil.
Very good.
Very good soil, good dirt.
Very good dirt. It's black soil. And in fact, Russia is famous. It has the black soil region.
Yeah.
Black soil region.
Black soil, it's чернозем?
Chernozem, правильно.
Uh-huh.
Chernozem. Black soil.
And it's one of the things that Iowa is famous for as well. This is very different from your dirt, I think, Joe.
We have clay and caliche and sand in Texas. It's not very rich soil at all.
How deep is this soil?
It's very deep. Like, we have dug
10
down,
meters or more?
I don't know. I've only dug down about a meter. And it's good all the way that far down. And but I lived some places in Texas where you would do well to have I don't do metrics very well. 2 feet.
2 feet?
Yeah.
2 feet,
2 feet.
A half of a meter.
A half a meter, yeah. And that was a lot.
It's about 1 meter deep.
Less than that.
Yeah.
Less, 1/2 meter.
But this soil is much deeper than that. I don't know how deep, because I have only dug down about a meter or a little more. A little more, I guess, because we did plant some trees deeper than that.
I think it is not too much. In Russia, there are regions where the deep is more than 10 meters.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
In Russia and in Ukraine. Because
Konstantin, I'm going to ask you about your job, and we go back to what you were saying about your shifts changing. In one of my jobs, when I teach here at the college, when they set the schedule, I am a very senior. I'm a very senior person, so I get to choose first. I get to choose the schedule that I want, and then so I get the first opportunity. Is it true that way in the metro that engineers, drivers with seniority who are senior would be able to pick before more younger drivers, more junior drivers?
I didn't catch the verb in your phrase. The senior drivers, the younger drivers.
Yeah, who gets to pick first? Who gets if there's a desirable shift, a desirable time to work, do you get to select, or does?
Have I some preference in my job because I'm
Yes. Yeah.
old? No. It, I think that young drivers had more advantages because they are mostly students, and in our laws, the students who received the education at first time, they have a preference in choosing of the shift, and they have great holidays for exams for writing of diploma. There are many advantages for them, and I am student too, but my education is a second, because 30 years ago I was graduated from institute, and I have no these advantages. But my chiefs, by my bosses, agree with my education schedule, and they allow me to work. No, not to work. They allow me to invite your lessons and lessons in my institute.
Oh, they let you take time off for your classes.
Sorry, they let me.
They let you take time off for your classes.
Yes, they let me to be off duty.
Yeah.
Indefinite time.
That's good. So you can benefit from some flexibility.
I can benefit
from some flexibility.
Flexibility. I don't remember what.
Gibkost.
So that's good. I am right. Your sons are in their 20s, right?
Sorry?
I am right about your sons being in their 20s, right? You have two 20-something sons?
20, not 20. One of them 25, 26, and 26 and 27.
Yeah. So, okay. So they're 20-somethings, we would say.
20-something.
They're in their 20s. And so we'll come back to that idea, because we're going to talk about mindsets a little bit more now. But if you're on the edge of a mindset group, you notice more what assumptions people have. So what are people's assumptions?
What does mean assumption?
It means what they assume or what they accept as true.
Okay, for assumption.
That's the basis for
Except
mindset.
that's true. Uh-huh.
So, Irena, because you, I think we can say your life experience so far is not necessarily typical. Did you say that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you know anybody else who's gone to serve in the Israeli army who is Russian?
Everyone who lives in Israel.
But is there anyone else you know in Omsk who has done that?
No.
All right.
Okay. So.
But we are 1 million here in Omsk. I can't know everyone.
Yeah. But your context now is Omsk. But that's not your only context because of your experience of serving in the Israeli army. So
yes.
You also may have different assumptions, a different mindset than the people in your Russian cohort. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think so too. When I was when I was your age, Irena, and Professor Marston was your age, women did not serve in the military in combat positions. And so my mindset growing up was that women didn't do that kind of work. And now it's only very recently in the United States, perhaps in the last 5 or 6 years, that's been possible. But in Israel, it's been possible for a long time, and in your experience, it's been possible for a long time.
Okay, now let's move that back to a Russian context. Do Russian women serve in the Russian military?
Sometimes, yes, but not on the combat positions, for sure. And before they should study in some college, I don't know how it calls, we have just few in the country. And after that they finish these studies, they can to serve.
And are they required to serve in the military?
Are they what?
Are they required? Are they obligated to serve in the military?
Oh, no.
Women?
No.
And are Russian men obligated to serve in the military?
Yes.
I thought so because we've had a number of students in our classes where when the young men finish their studies, before they can get on with their lives, so to speak, they have to serve in the military. And that's not true for Americans anymore. Joe, do you have any idea when we stopped having a draft?
No, but I'm guessing it was in the 70s sometime. After the war in Vietnam. I don't remember when it was.
So it means you want to say that now even men don't obligated to serve in army?
That's correct.
Right.
Oh, I think it's not a bad idea, actually. And I think it's a good idea for Russia for today.
Mm-hmm. We have a number of people, men and women both, who serve in the National Guard.
Mm.
And they're sort of citizen soldiers. They have regular jobs under normal situations, and the National Guard, in spite of its being called national, is controlled normally by the governor of each state. And until recently, those National Guard soldiers would go out and practice marching once a month, that one weekend a month, and then they'd carry on. But they got some military pay and some military benefits. But then, after the Vietnam War, which was a huge turning point for us, the National Guard became something else. And now, if you're in the National Guard, you can expect to be called to active duty, it's called. And in Iowa, there have been a number of National Guard called up for active duty to serve in the Iraq War.
To serve in?
Or I should say, to serve in the war, to serve in the Iraq War. And in Afghanistan. And many have been killed. And so an issue in my context of the people living in Iowa, so many families have been affected by their family members going off to fight when they weren't expecting to. There is a good deal of anti-war sentiment. And I know, Konstantin, you and I have talked about the difficulty for veterans who come back from serving in the military and have trouble getting a job. The problem of veterans is a serious one for us. And so that is part of the context that we live in. That generation of '94 has grown up with the Vietnam, not the Vietnam War, the wars in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, and they see that veterans are often unemployed and damaged. That is, they may be They may have war wounds, physical or psychological.
I'm sorry, and have your veterans some advantages in work or in medicine?
Yes, we have VA hospitals. And they're very good, but they're very overcrowded. And we have, let's see, do they still have money?
Overcrowded it is too many people, too many ill people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they get benefits, but it takes a long time.
It takes veterans when they return, when they are demobilized, when they return to their homes, when they are deactivated. Usually, state laws say that their former employers must rehire them in the same position or better, and that's usually the case, but not always. So veterans, they may not get preference for employment, but they are not discriminated against. And but you know, when it is reservists, when they're National Guard and their reserve soldiers are mobilized, they're usually mobilized as a unit, you know, a particular company or a group, and they serve as a group, and they tend to come from the same hometowns or the same communities. So a lot of them are gone at the same time. And if there are injuries or deaths, they tend to affect tend to affect a community rather than individuals.
And I'm sorry, maybe it isn't correct, but I thought that your National Guard didn't serve abroad.
Oh, no.
It's only
Not
your
till
army.
Now. Not till now.
Sorry?
Not until now.
Not until now. And the reason is, Konstantin and Irena, the reason is that the military in the United States now is all volunteer. There's no draft. There's no requirement to serve. So the offsetting factor is the fact that National Guard units can certainly be mobilized, and they are.
That is still very unusual, because until recently, the National Guard, serving as what we used to call weekend warriors, would...
does mean various. Weekend warriors.
Just a minute. I'm typing it in the chat. Konstantin, let's see if you can figure it out. Weekend warriors. What's a warrior?
Weekend warriors.
Weekend warriors. What's a warrior?
I don't know what warriors.
Okay, look for the small word in the big word.
Ah,
There's war.
uh-huh.
And a person who practices war is a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be the National Guard were only weekend warriors. They'd have their regular job during the week, and then one weekend a month they'd go off to do military drills and stuff like that. So, hello, Anton. I'm glad you could join us. And so weekend warriors, they might help, like when we had the terrible big storm on the East Coast this winter, and there was so much flooding and loss of power and other problems, the National Guard was called up to assist in rescue operations and firefighting and flood control. That's their normal role for which they were intended, I believe. But I think they would have a hard time doing that in Iowa now, because I think they're all serving in the Army, and so it's still true that the National Guard only serves domestically. But if a unit is mobilized, then they become regular military.
Sorry?
If a National Guard unit is mobilized, then they become part of the regular military.
And I have a question about weekend warriors. Is it an ironical term?
Yes.
Yes. And let's see, you can say, there used to be a bumper sticker. I'm not sure I can remember it exactly. You know, a little sign that people stuck on their cars that said, "Sleep well tonight. Your National Guard is." And that was shortened from a publicity statement. They used to say, "Sleep well tonight, your National Guard is awake." So yes, they were not taken seriously until they were called up for the regular Army, unless there was a disaster. Oh gosh, this was a sidetrack.
We'd started talking about the cat.
Yes.
We moved into Chernozem and the National Guard and weekend warriors. Interesting material.
Yes.
And so I want to go back, however, to the Beloit mindset list. I want to return to the Beloit mindset list. Number 2 is they have always lived in cyberspace, addicted to a new generation of electronic narcotics. Is this true in your experience with Russian 20-somethings?
Maybe Irena is close to this generation. I'm worried about it, but I can't to use computer as young people.
Well, but you have very good computer skills.
No, I have not.
You say that.
Only as bad user.
I think that Professor Lero and I are both a little unusual for our age group because we have technical skills, we have technological skills. When Professor Lero first started working with me, he was a Luddite.
Luddite.
What does mean Luddite?
Luddite. Capitalized, I think so, yes. I think a Luddite.
Luddite, it is from English history, maybe?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When some workers broke their machines.
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 That's true.
And yet, now Professor Lero gives classes using video conferencing over the internet. And he has an iPhone, and he texts, and he takes pictures with his iPhone. And what else, Joe? What else is different about your relationship to all of these technology tools?
Well, it's all new to me. When the very first time I bought a computer, my children had to show me how to turn it on and how to use it. It was an old Macintosh, a Mac Classic, and my grandchildren have instructed me in the use of my iPhone and how to use my iPhone. And when I say I don't know how to do that, they say, "Oh, Granddad, it's very easy. Here, I'll show you." I'll show you.
And my husband was the one who helped me learn about technology. But I cannot get help from my daughter or my grandchildren because they always want my help.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to look elsewhere to get the help. But I think it's very common for younger people to assume they're going to be able to make it work somehow. Whereas we who didn't start with it tend to think of it as a little intimidating. But I think we need to give ourselves credit from how far we came. I was remembering a time before television. That's how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
I was remembering that when I was 5 or 6, after dinner in the evening, my father would read aloud to my brother and me. That's what we did for entertainment. And when he got tired of reading, my mother taught me how to embroider. And that's what I did.
My mother, and then?
My mother taught me how to embroider. It's a kind of, embroidery is a decorative kind of stitching, sewing. and people since the Middle Ages, women since the Middle Ages, have been doing this sort of domestic needle art, it's called. But I did not teach my daughter to do this. I did teach her to sew. Okay, so now we have to ask, Irena, did your parents read to you when you were small?
Maybe when I was too small. But after I started to read to myself.
Yes.
So I don't remember.
And Anton, did your parents read to you when you were small?
Could you repeat the question? Did they taught me to read?
No. Did they read to you out loud?
Oh, yes. I remember my mom read to me. It was I don't know how it would be in English, but it's about I just don't know how the full name. Well, and we have also Russian adaptation of that fairy tale. It would be like Волшебник изумрудного города. Yeah. And she read me out loud. And I also remember, if I'm not mistaken, but she read me the first Harry Potter. But to this time, I could read myself as I learned how to read 4 or 5 years. I don't remember exactly.
And when my father was reading to us, he read us pieces of literature. Even though my brother, who's 6 years older than I, could read very well, this was an experience that my father wanted to share with us. And so I remember he read the Swiss Family Robinson and Robinson Crusoe and The Last of the Mohicans. 3 books I remember from when I think I was about 5. And we didn't have television for several years after that. So, Konstantin, when you were a child, did your parents read to you?
Of course they did. I think every parents read to their children because they can't read themselves.
And Joe, did your parents read to you?
They did. My mother read to me, and I remember that my father used to read the Sunday comic strips to me.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
The Sunday Funnies. The Sunday
Funnies.
My dad used to do that. And sometimes, and my mother would read to me in Polish. She read from Polish books. And I think the way I learned to read was by reading Polish.
Cool.
Sunday Funnies. The Sunday Funnies. My dad would read the Sunday Funnies.
And
are you bilingual, Polish and English?
Yes,
How fluent in Polish?
How fluent? Well, это мой второй родной язык. so I'm a native speaker. I could think of myself as a native speaker of Polish.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter, we lived in Spain when my daughter was 4 and 5 and 6. And so she began school in Spain, and she is she has some rudiments of Spanish, although she did not keep it up when we returned back to this country. She still has a beautiful Castilian accent, and she can talk it's the accent from Madrid. And Madrid is in Castile, the central part of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So she can't, she's not fluent by any means, but so it takes more than a little work to speak, to continue being bilingual, I think. And Professor Smith has joined us. Professor Smith, did your parents read to you when you were small?
Yes, Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss?
Oh, yes.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Yes.
And that was also my daughter's favorite book as a child. So we have a picture of my mother reading it to me, and then later on we have a picture of my mother reading the same book to Emily. And I will not eat them with a fox. I will not eat them in a box.
Dr. Seuss is really fun, you guys. If you haven't read any Dr. Seuss, you might really enjoy him. Go ahead.
And
Professor.
Interestingly enough, Dr. Seuss, his real name, of course, was Theodore Geisel, right?
Yeah.
And his brother is on the faculty here at UTA.
Oh.
And is a faculty member in public affairs. I've met and talked with his brother quite a few times. So we have
sure
Dr. Seuss's brother.
There's a small Dr. Seuss museum in Springfield, Massachusetts, where Geisel lived as a child, and Mulberry Street, which is one of the streets in one of the it shows up in one of the Dr. Seuss stories.
I'm sorry, Theodore Geisel is Dr. Seuss' really name?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought that he's from Switzerland.
No,
he's American.
He's American.
And Seuss is just a made-up name, I believe, right?
And he is like who is the Russian children's poet who wrote "У меня зазвонил телефон"?
Tchaikovsky.
And he's kind of like Tchaikovsky in that he plays with words and has very clever rhymes. And he's Tchaikovsky is often considered to be the Russian Dr. Seuss.
I heard this opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard this opinion.
Mm-hmm. And there are, of course, many famous films, right? How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh yes, I have read this. How the Grinch. Sorry, I have a question. Why the Grinch? Why not Grinch, but the Grinch?
It's a proper name, but it's the proper name of the type, right? Not a collective sort, right?
It's like it's like monster or giant or something like that. You would say the giant or the monster, the Grinch.
Sorry, I have not got it exactly.
It's a typ imущество. It's a type of noun that allows you to distinguish singular versus plurals.
And it points to something unique. There wasn't a whole bunch of Grinches. There was one Grinch, just as we say, the president.
I think I get it.
He was the Grinch who lived north of Whoville.
Yes, indeed.
And you see how he plays with the words, right? So Whoville, right, based on the wonderful word who, right? In English, all the who's down in Whoville loved Christmas a lot, because who is for us a question word, and he turns it into a noun, right? The who's are people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure how you would do that in Russian, right? Sektiv kto gorodzie, or something like that. You have to play with words for it to make sense.
So let's see. We didn't. I want to know how many people are involved in gaming online.
Gaming.
Russia?
I
don't know. It's a great amount of people, of young people. Almost everyone who has a computer, a laptop.
Okay, so
and
now
World of Warcraft, I hear about this game. But I think Anton and Irena can told us more proper.
Okay, so Anton, have you ever played a game like World of Warcraft?
Yeah, I played World of Warcraft exactly. I played for 2 months, and it was unforgettable experience. Yes.
But you stopped. But you stopped.
Yeah, I stopped because my time was over, and I didn't have money to buy another time card, so it was quite easy like that.
Oh, so you paid for the time online?
Yeah, I paid when I bought the disc itself with the program on it, and there was a time card in complex instead. Yeah, and it was just great. As I had an experience, I played on the pirate server where half of the quests were bugged, and the other half didn't work at all. So it was great amusement when I came to the official server and everything worked like a miracle. So I got a great pleasure from that. I'll never forget that.
So what about you, Irena? Do you indulge in gaming?
I don't play online games. I don't like them. And if I play games, just some kind of actions, and but not online. But it's not so often.
Let's see. Did you grow up watching television?
Yes.
What did you watch on TV when you were little?
Cartoons and movies. I love scary movies.
Scary movies?
Yes. Like the Nightmare on Elm Street was my favorite.
Oh. I have nightmares, so I have never watched movies like that.
I didn't scare it.
But what happens to me is I enter into the make-believe so much that it stays with me and I think it's real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't watch movies like that. So, Anton, did you watch TV when you were little?
Oh, certainly. When I was young, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was young and foolish, like studying by parents. Yeah. I adored Disney cartoons. They were quite popular in our country in the 90s. So every weekend there were cartoons in the morning in 9 a.m. Yeah, I remember that exactly. My favorite was Darkwing Duck. Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have any handheld games, electronic games?
Electronic games. I had a NES. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. In Russia we call it Bendy.
We have to ask about TV. Do you watch TV today on a TV set, or do you watch it on your computer more, Anton?
Well, I usually watch television when I eat, so I usually watch it from the TV set. Yeah. I'm usually watching the news or the cartoons.
And Irena, do you watch TV on the TV set or on your computer?
On the TV set.
Ah, we're a very traditional group.
And also, when I watch some movies, I don't watch it online on my laptop. I download it and watch on the TV.
Download and watch it on the TV.
Yes.
And Konstantin, what about you? Do you watch on the TV set or on your computer?
I watch on the TV set, of course. I'm old-fashioned person.
Well, my daughter, I will tell you, watches them all on her iPad. She doesn't even turn our TV set on anymore. But there's a very interesting statistic. How much time do you think each week the average American spends watching TV? Konstantin, how many hours a week do you think the average American watches TV?
How much?
How much time? How many hours a week?
How much times I watch a TV?
No, how much do you think? Tell me how much you watch it. Then we can. Yeah, how much do you watch?
I don't know. It's sometimes, often, sometimes I don't watch it at all. I don't know. I can't count it.
So maybe 1 hour a day, maybe, right?
Maybe sometimes, yes, I think maybe 1 hour a day. Phone use, phone use, and maybe
some other viewing. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't count how many time I spend before TV set.
So it's not central to your life. You know, it's important, but maybe not central to your life.
Mm.
Irena, how many hours a day do you watch?
It's also different. It depends how many time I spend on work and my studies. So it could be 1 hour a day, or it could be almost all day if it's in the weekend. So.
Anton, what about you?
Well, usually takes maybe somewhere around an hour a day. I just watch maybe a few episodes of Futurama or American Dad, or I can watch some news reports, and that's it. Nothing specific.
I will share a link with you. The average American spends nearly 5 hours a day watching TV.
Oh, 5 hours a day.
It's about 34 hours a week, and this is an article in the New York Times that talks about that.
I have a doubt about it because there are only 24 hours in there.
Yeah, so 34 hours a week. 34 hours a week, or about 5 hours a day. You still doubt it, Konstantin, yes?
Hardly so, because 24 minus 5, it is 19, minus 8 for sleep. 11 hours minus hour or 2 for eat, and when we should to sleep, when the Americans should to sleep, I think it's too many hours for TV.
I think.
Yeah, but here is ruled that American age 12 and 34. Spending less time in front of TV. So I think that the 5 hours, it's more about older people who spend the time with.
And actually what they're saying is they spend less time in front of TV sets.
Yes.
But more time in front of watching TV on the network.
Yeah, but they can do this when they, I don't know, waiting for someone or just walking somewhere. So.
And they do it while they eat, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I will ask Professor Marston, when you eat a meal, do you eat it in front of the TV?
Sure. It's a conscious decision that I took was when I was a kid, that if I ever had a television, and I didn't for several years, I would never eat in front of it. And so that's been sort of a lifelong rule. And that was when I was a child. We had to have, my father had to watch the evening news at 6 o'clock, and he wanted to eat right then. So my parents ate, and I did too, in front of the television at 6 p.m. watching the news every night, Huntley Brinkley.
At my house, we do not watch television and eat at the same time. Period.
What about you, Pete?
I have to say at our house, because of the teenager, we do. She will certainly eat in front of the TV. And sometimes she'll eat and have TV on her laptop. Maybe she won't even be watching the real TV set. She probably, I like Konstantin's math, but she watches all the time. She watches when she studies. She watches when she's going to sleep. Sometimes she watches in the bathroom when she's getting ready in the morning. Since she can have it all streamed to her now, I think she helps drive the average up. And that average has not gone up a whole lot. It's been that number for 10 or more years.
Wow.
There are many, many Americans who simply watch multiple hours of TV every day.
Well, Professor Shestakov put in the chat, maybe American TV is worth watching, unlike Russian. And I would have to say that's not true for me. But my daughter doesn't really watch it. It's just on at her house. When her husband is in town, the television never is shut off. But he travels a lot, and as soon as he leaves, there is no TV on at her house.
I have a question, I don't know, for him. When the television appeared in the United States?
When did it appear?
When did it appear?
In the 1950s,
48,
60s.
49, 50?
Yeah.
1950.
So let's say 1950, commercially.
Mm-hmm.
So Huntley Brinkley, you dated yourself, Jan? You dated all of us?
Yeah.
Very famous news broadcast pair from the 60s, right? Weren't they?
Yes. Or, let's see, it would have to be maybe late 50s, because I graduated high school in 1961.
1956 to 1970.
Yeah. So I first saw television in 1954.
And what was the dimension of screen of your first TV set?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think they were about 11 inches, right? 12 inches, the first ones?
Well, there were cathode ray tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the television set was marketed as a fine piece of furniture.
Mm-hmm.
It was encased in wood and was polished and very decorative.
Mm-hmm.
We might not have had a big TV, but we had a huge box for it.
Huge box.
A huge piece of wooden furniture,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how tiny the television was.
Some pictures are there at that link that I just pasted if it works.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what year did the TV first appear in the Soviet Union, Konstantin?
I don't know. Maybe later than in 1950. I think in 1957. I don't know exactly. I know that it was a TV set. It sounded as KVN. I don't know what does it mean. It was a great box with a very small screen. And before the screen, our TV watchers, maybe, they said, I don't know the word, увеличительное стекло, линза.
The glass on the front of the lens there, the screen.
Yes, for to increase the screen.
Ah, okay, I'm looking at a picture now. Now I see it. So it almost had a little magnifying glass to it.
Magnifying glass, yes? It's
Yes, yeah.
Linza.
Linza.
But I didn't see. I didn't see such a type of television. I watch it in it almost contemporary fashion kind. I have seen such kind of television of TV sets only in museum.
Okay, I just posted a picture there on the tab that begins 494.
Uh-huh.
Is that it, Konstantin?
Sorry. Oh, Anton?
I'm sorry, Konstantin.
No. The picture, it's from Anton or it's your picture?
From me.
Ah,
from me.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes, КВН. КВН 49.
49, да.
Oh, you have a TV museum in Omsk.
is this model of TV set like yours, like your TV sets, like American TV set?
Yes, yeah, sure.
Yeah, from that period, I think they looked very much the same.
Oh, I don't remember the lenses.
Not the lens. The lens was different.
The model sound as KVN 49. I think 49 it's when this TV set was invited, not invited, was constructed.
Invented, yeah. I
Invented,
will post a picture.
I think it was invented earlier in 20th year of last century.
So in the tab that begins with a 510, here's a picture of an American TV. It looks very similar, right?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah, they're very similar. That's amazing how similar they are, isn't it?
It's plastic box. Is it plastic box?
Wood, possibly wood. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Remember, we had one, something like this.
We had one like that too. Mm-mm. We had one too, and you also, if you had a TV like this, you had to have what was called a television lamp, which was a lamp that would fit on top of the television set for some reason. Usually
Lamp. What does mean lamp?
Lamp.
Lamp.
Lamp, and the reason you had it was that you would go, it would hurt your eyes if you didn't have the lamp. I don't understand the theory of that.
And we were always told not to go too close to it, right? That would also hurt your eyes.
Oh yeah, it would hurt your eyes to go.
Or your innards.
Yes, it would irradiate you.
My grandmother was terrified of the television, and she wanted everyone to sit on the other side of the room.
There were some people who would get dressed up to watch television, thinking that if they could see the performers, then the performers could also see them.
Excellent. And today we sit in front of a screen and we can see each other, right?
Right, and yes, we can.
But we don't dress up.
But we don't dress up.
Well, let's see. I wanted to say one thing about texting and just using the phone and how that has made a difference in what I observe. When I walk across Drake University campus, as I meet students, they are almost always texting as they walk along. So this is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't talk to, they don't greet you, they don't say hello. It used to be I would walk across campus and people would smile and nod or, even say hello. But now that rarely happens. And I think that's a big difference. It's now against the law to text while driving, but people do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think the irony is that both texting and LinkedIn and Facebook, that those things are all called social media, where my experience is that they're very anti-social media, that they discourage face-to-face contact, and they discourage real-time, if you were, real-time conversation and interaction.
Discourage, what does mean discourage?
Discourage, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
To reduce or negatively affect.
Again, look for the little words inside the big word. You have dis, D-I-S, which is a negative prefix, and courage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a way that I love to play with words, and I think it works in a number of languages. I don't know about Russian very much, but I know the cognates seem to work that way. So I wanted to ask about texting in Russia. Do you have that experience? Do you text first? Do you send text messages?
Of course, it's a very popular way in Russia. It's a cheapest way of conversation by phone with a smartphone or mobile phone. And some drivers get used to send their messages when they drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And many accident was because to this mania of making conversation.
And Anton, do you text?
To be honest, yes, I do text because I don't know how to explain, but texting is more softer than calling somebody, and it's more convincing for me to text somebody rather than make a buzz. Yeah. I don't know. Somehow conversation gets more interesting. It is always not a distraction, but it is always a pleasure when your phone is buzzing when you receive the message. In my opinion, according to my experience, yes. So yes, I'm texting if I can.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that I text with, and one of the reasons that I like it is if I have a question, I can send it off without worrying about whether I'm interrupting what's happening at the other end, and then they can answer me right away or later. But it's very efficient, and it doesn't get lost in the email. And I don't have to worry about catching them in the middle of a presentation or an important conversation with the person that they are looking at. So I do it a lot.
If it's a young person, they probably don't read email, right?
Yeah. I have a tendency, I'll send my daughter an email, and then I'll send her a text to say, look at your email.
I leave Emily a voicemail on her phone, then I have to send her a text saying, check your voicemail.
Well, what about you, Irena? text?
Yes, but not so much.
And how do you use texting? Why would you text rather than phoning or seeing someone face to face?
Well, mostly I use texting in my work. But with my friends, I prefer not to text. I prefer to talk on the phone.
I've had some students like this before. Sometimes people just can't, don't like to put all that energy into writing. I'd like to talk about the language of texting at some point. But so if you have a choice, then you would talk to people on the phone.
Yes.
So why do you use it for work?
Because when I'm talking with my boss, or I should to say something to him, or I should to ask, it's the same like you said. You don't need to interrupt him because he can be busy, he can be in the court, or he can be somewhere else. So I send a message, and when he can, he will answer or he will call. And he also don't check the mail. And when I send some email, I send him the text to check the email, please.
Generational would be the word we would use, right?
Again?
That their reaction will be generational. A younger generation will act differently than an older generation.
Konstantin, tell me about your sons. Do you text with them?
Sometimes, but I prefer to speak with them by phone because I type very slowly.
Well,
Speaking of which,
did you just get a text?
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Actually, it's time for us to quit, as it happens.
Sorry?
It's time for us to quit, as it happens. 12:31 here. And so we have 2 more classes. We'll meet on the 14th, and the last class is on the 21st. And for next time, I would like to continue exploring what I want to do is to try to get a sense of, no matter what your generation is, what assumptions you have in your context that differ from either your parents or your children. And I will be looking at that as well. Pete, Joe, do you have any last words?
No, not today, except to wish everyone well and peace.
Yes. Have a good week, everybody, and we will pick up on the theme Professor Marston mentioned next week. Well, good to see you all.
Rest, okay?
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a nice week.
Bye, have a good week all.
See you next week.